caught myself. Allô, oui, bonsoir. I'm the Mademoiselle, and ça c'est deuxième Chanel and Jadia. We're going to be doing a reaction to a YouTuber that talks about growing up in Haiti in the midst of colorism. Now, I actually did a video sitting down with my best friend Sundia, and we talked about colorism in Haiti. We also talked about texturism in Haiti as well, or just in the Haitian community as a whole. And it was interesting because a lot of you guys really liked it. But I also came across a lot of people in person who were basically saying that they saw my video and they were like, yeah, but I don't really see it. I don't see colorism in Haiti. I feel like it's more of a class thing. And it's like, classism is a whole nother thing, which I definitely want to make a video on classism with someone. I just have to find the right person to do it. But colorism is actually very, very relevant. But I feel like a lot of Haitians see it in a different way. So I wanted to react to this video to see exactly what she's going to be talking about and see what perspective she gives on colorism in Haiti. So make sure you guys comment down below. Have you experienced colorism in Haiti or the Haitian community? Or even if you're not Haitian, have you experienced colorism as a whole? What has it done to your self-esteem? Is it something that people try to act like doesn't really happen? Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions, because I feel like when I bring up the topic of colorism within Haitians, unless I sit there and like explain it, they don't understand exactly where I'm coming from. So out of my element, I do not do reaction videos on this channel like whatsoever. I think I did like one music video reaction one time, but I don't even think it's up anymore. But comment down below if you want to see me do more of those, like more Haitian based type of things. And if you have any video suggestions, I have a video suggestion form down below. We shall sit on this side because we not on my main channel. If you guys are into reaction videos, you can definitely subscribe to that channel. Now, this video is from YouTuber Sarah Dalisma. She made this video 2 years ago. She's a very small YouTuber. I'm not sure if she's still making videos. She hasn't posted in over a year. But you guys are free to check her out. I'll leave the link to this video down below.
Hi guys, welcome to the first episode of the Justitive Live.
I love that shirt.
And today
I want that shirt.
Talking about colorism. We're going to be talking about colorism, but more specifically, I'm going to be talking about colorism in Haiti and what it means to live and grow up in a society where colorism is pretty much overt, right? A lot of times when I talk to my Haitian friends and we talk about the Haitian society, we talk about the social gaps, the injustice, and obviously the topic of colorism comes up. And I think that's a little bit misleading because while they talk about the concept of racism, I think what they actually mean to alert is this concept of colorism. And these two are quite different.
Honestly, this is exactly what I was talking about. Like, I was so confused, like, when people, like, I would tell certain people, because before I did my colorism discussion, I would tell certain people, like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing a video on this, that, and like, but I don't see it. Like, I don't think that happens. Like, even racism, I'm not gonna say it doesn't happen in Haiti. I'm not gonna say it's non-existent, but it's not like the way racism is in America, the way black people in America see it. Definitely not the same, specifically because Haiti is 95% black, with mixed and other minorities on the island only making 5% of the country. So mostly everyone is black. The elites are black, the assholes are black, the criminals are black, the good people are black, the saints are black, like the voodoo gods are black, like everybody's black. White people will never ever be superior in most Haitians' eyes because of the, you know, just because of the history, being freed in 1804, basically cutting white people's heads off and kicking the rest of them off the island, etc. But there's also a lot of white allies, you know, like we have the Polish who have their own section in Haiti, and other nationalities and races of people who have, you know, become really good allies with Haiti. But Haiti doesn't have that complex of kind of being like treated horribly to the extent of, you know, white is better. There are a lot of people I know, like a lot of Haitians I know that are very colorist, very anti-Haitian, very like just self-hating as fuck. Like, I know a good amount. For a majority of the sort, Haitians see these types of issues very differently.
Colorism, on one hand, is discriminatory attitude that someone has against another person based on color or skin tone.
Yep.
Now, racism, on the other hand, is a discriminatory attitude against people based on their actual or perceived racial status. Now, you know, the problem and the relationship between colorism and racism have been, you know, I guess studied by academics for a long time. And the consensus essentially is that colorism is a product or a symptom of racism. Now,
Makes sense. I've heard
talking
this
about
before.
these petty things, such as skin tones, and like skin color, why do these things matter? Well, skin tone matters because we're visual species and we respond to one another based on our physical presences, right? And when we talk about the present day Haitian society, skin color becomes a loaded signifier for identity, values, and
Class.
wealth.
Yup.
And in order for us to understand, right, we need to go back in time. We need to look at history. Now, the history of colorism in Haiti dates from the 1700s in the midst of the French, British, and Spanish colonization. Western colonizers would rape, fall in love with black slaves, and their offsprings came to be known as this mixed race mulatto class.
Yes.
Now, in some cases, these white heads of households would care for these mixed offsprings. They would grant them freedoms, they would grant them privilege. Some of them would even send those kids away to Western European countries to study, while others would actually leave behind acres of lands as well as real estate for their mixed offsprings.
Very interesting.
Now, it comes to no surprises that these mixed communities, although still considered lower than white people, white colonists, they are still perceived as being above their fellow white slaves. Now, let's bring this back to the present day. There still exists this class of mulattoes that still have taken advantage of their ancestors' privileges. And it's for this reason that this class typically is composed of people with wealth, people with education. They possess political and industrial influences up until today. Also, from a social...
Honestly, this is so true because now that I think about it, there are a lot of mixed class people of Haitian descent that are having like extreme elite wealth of power, not even just in Haiti, outside of Haiti. If you see a lot of like Haitian type of politicians, a good amount of them are usually mixed or just like really light skinned. So it's like, you know damn well they have to have some type of mixed type of ancestry somewhere. Pageants and these like contests with these Haitian women. It's like, why is it always a light skinned woman when we know damn well majority of the country is blackity black. It's so interesting. Even though they make such a small, minute part of the country, they are usually very pushed to the forefront.
Standpoint, they have Eurocentric features, which allows them to be predominantly perceived as beautiful, good looking, making them desirable amongst Haitian society. Another way that mixed families typically build and keep the wealth is to marry amongst themselves. They also tend to relegate political power to their own kind. All of that is being done to preserve the status quo, to put them at the higher part of the hierarchy. Now, I do want to say that like there does exist a healthy, growing, black educated middle class. However, it's important to note that regardless of those black people's wealth and education, the level of education they achieve, right, there's still this like racial undertone where they're considered lesser than their mixed race counterpart, which is a little bit messed up. I think it's quite messed up.
That is true.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about my personal experiences living.
Before she goes into that, honestly, it's always annoyed me that people would like refer, especially Haitians, would refer to one another in reference to skin tone. That's always been something I would just be like, what the hell? Like, they would be sitting there like, oh, where's your friend? And I'm like, which one? Is like, oh, the black ass one. Oh, T noir led blanc. Oh, T. I just be like, why are you so disrespectful? Or like when I get a tan, they sit there like, oh, vi nuewi, like in a horrible way, like, oh, you got darker. And it's like, girl, I will beat you the fuck up. Like, it's just weird. And it's like, now that I think about it for real, again, since making the video that I made, it's like, yeah, Haitians actually put a lot of basis on skin. Like, the colorism in Haiti is like serious. Now, since she's dark skinned, I know her experience is gonna be super sad. I hope I can like hold it all in, y'all, but
growing up in Haiti where, colorism was everywhere. Like I said, I grew up in Haiti in the 90s and I graduated from high school in 2010. I went to an all-girl private school, and that school in question, in terms of attendance, is pretty diverse, right? Now, it's important for you guys to know that when I talk about diversity in the context of this video, I'm talking about diversity of skin tone and not diversity of race, right? Because after all, right, Haiti is composed of about 90% of African descent and 10% of these mixed races. Now, in my school, colorism was pretty much prevalent, based on the attitude that you would see on the administrations, the teachers, but also based on the behavior that you would see with students within themselves, right? Now, you have the mainstream idea where the fair-skinned girls were generally the most popular kids, they're generally associated with wealth, and they weren't necessarily the most inclusive people. On the other side of that token, the darker skinned girls, including myself, were put in this social dilemma where we have to basically aspire to befriend, aspire to resemble those lighter skinned ones.
That's horrible.
Now, what I realized from an analytical standpoint about colorism is that just like racism, colorism has, a system that enables it, right? And with all systems, we have active participants on every side. On one hand, you have the lighter skinned folks who instigate and do benefit from those colorist systems. But darker skinned people also participate into these social norms through anti-blackness tendencies.
I definitely agree with this. The only issue I would say is that when it comes to like the whole colorism thing, is just like I can never understand how anyone can like, how do I explain it? Like justify it in a sense. Like I be seeing people that really sit there and be like, oh well, it is true. The lighters are better, and oh well, I do need to lighten my skin. I just be sitting there like, bro, something really wrong with you. But at the same time, I do kind of understand it, because it's like if you've been told that you're ugly, if you've been told that you're less than for your entire life, you're definitely going to believe it. The whole aspect of her trying to like fit in, or other dark-skinned girls in Haiti in particular trying to like befriend these girls and trying to be like them, that is like super duper horrible. And I can't imagine being in that type of situation. Comment down below, have you been in that situation where you try to like befriend the white girls or the light-skinned girls or the mixed girls, like, like try to like vicariously be them? Because that's
about the way that us as a Haitian society, we can unlearn these tendencies, these anti-black tendencies, because ultimately they're productive to any of us, right? I'm gonna first start talking about, what black, darker skinned people should do in order to unlearn anti-blackness. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is this idea of self-love. As a black person, it took me going to college in the US to actually unlearn these aspirations to whiteness, to light-skinnedness, right? I had to unlearn associating lighter skin with wealth, popularity, and beauty. I had to unlearn accepting that I was naturally lesser than, right? Naturally less cool, naturally less popular, naturally less pretty, right? All that good stuff. I also had to unlearn being bothered by like my type of hair, for instance. And the easiest way that I can suggest that you guys can start is by consuming more black media, right? It can be either by listening to Beyonce, it can be by watching other black YouTubers such as myself, it can be attending black parties. You have to put yourself in a community that it accepts blackness for what it is.
Love this idea. This is definitely the best way to do it. Practicing self-love is everything. The only problem is this would actually be better in terms of overall racism, or overall like for someone who grows up in a white society, because at the end of the day, even if you surround yourself around black people, there's still going to be light skins, there's going to be dark skins, but I mean, I don't know, like at that point, do you tell people to like just stay around like darker skinned people? Because now that's kind of like segregation. So comment down below, because I just thought about that. I'm like, there's still going to be light skinned people there's still going to be groups, because we all segregate ourselves in a sense. And sadly, not everyone has unlearned the behavior of thinking that lighter is better. But I think this is a good start, and I think this is actually like, it makes a lot of sense. Very good solution.
Now, the second thing that I want black, darker skinned people to understand is to stop any manifestation of internalized anti-blackness. Now, anti-blackness manifests itself in very implicit ways, which dangerous for us darker skin folks. We ought to constantly be self-aware of the way we think, but most importantly, why we think these specific things. Let me give you a couple of, examples. Why do I find, let's say, Lupita Nyong'o unattractive?
Nah, she's bomb.
Why do I want to date light-skinned guys? Why don't I want to date darker skin folks? Why do I catch myself laughing at, jokes that are made at darker skinned people's expenses? Another example of anti-blackness that I love is when black guys consistently fall in love with these lighter skinned girls, and they refuse to date dark skinned girls, saying that it's their preferences. I'm gonna say something very crazy, like you can't have a preference based on someone's race. That is fucked up. That's not something that you should be doing, and if you do, that is anti-blackness. You can love someone for their personality, you can love someone for, their education maybe, but like for you to have a preference based on race, that's fucked up. Again, these are all examples of questions that you have to really dig deep and have honest conversations with yourself to understand the degree of your internalized anti-blackness. By the way,
I actually really agree with the preference thing, but I still believe that anyone could have a preference. Like, even, there's a lot of people that refuse to date anything but black people and they're black. I wouldn't consider that wrong. I do think it's a problem when you disrespect other people. When you're sitting there talking shit or degrading your own kind or degrading someone else's race, I think that's fucked up. But I feel like everyone could have a preference. Like, I prefer dark-skinned men, but I'm not about to sit there and, discriminate against a white boy who's amazing and, treats me well and has a good head on his shoulder. I would never, because at the end of the day, what matters is how the person treats you. But I happen to be genuinely attracted to a specific type of person. And I feel like everyone has a type, at the end of the day. The guys that I've dated do not look the same whatsoever. Now that I think about it, they really don't. But I still have, a thing where it's oh, I really like this type. My boyfriend is exactly what I've always asked for forever. Dark skin, Haitian, beard. Period. That's what I've always wanted. But if I would have took a Hispanic, white, no bearded, 6'8" lawyer. If he's a good nigga, fuck it. I get what she's trying to say here, but honestly, the whole preference thing has always been a discussion that's I don't think it's ever gonna end, to be honest.
Have internalized anti-blackness that we all have to unlearn. I myself have to do it to do a better job at it, but so do you. The first thing is actually being aware of these things.
Yeah, I definitely need to do a better job.
On the other side too, I think mixed people in Haiti should stop doing a couple of things because they also perpetrate, this colorist
This is what they don't like.
And they do it by, I think, I've summed up with 3 things that they do. The first thing is the denial of privilege.
Yup.
In many cases, in many conversations that I have with my Haitian friends, I get many times as a defense that they'll, flat out deny their privilege, right? They'll deny that they get hit on at bars, being the teacher's pet, being pretty. It's partially rooted in the fact that they are fairer skinned, right? A friend of mine once actually tried me, and she tried to deflect and say, but Sarah, we're all Haitian. Or, my grandmother, it was her skin tone. I can't be colorist, we're all one people, right? And I'm sure no one is trying to deny your nationality, but these conversations cannot end there, right? Denying privilege in Haiti is going to refrain us from having meaningful discussion, and it's really not going to move the ball forward, is it?
This is touchy. When it comes to privilege, when it comes to white privilege, light skin privilege, stuff like that, I believe that those who have it should always acknowledge that they have it. And I also believe that those who have it should educate others about the dangers and their abuse of it sometimes. Because not all of them are like that. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of them don't even know they have this privilege. I feel like a lot of white people, a lot of light-skinned people don't know they have that privilege. So at that point, you can't really blame them because at the end of the day, they've kind of lived the life of them. They don't know what it's like to be darker. They don't know what it's like to be black. They don't know what it's like to be anyone else but them. So unless they have someone like us to point it out, they don't really see it. You ever have a conversation with a white person who hasn't really had any black friends? It's the most, like, I just had a chill thinking about it. Like, they don't know shit a lot of the time. And you would probably sit there and be like, how could they not know anything? It's 2020. You would be fucking shocked. Because a lot of them have not grown up around people like us, okay? They haven't grown up around any type of diversity. They haven't grown up around anyone that is different from them. Even on the black spectrum, I know a lot of black people who have never met an Asian person. Never met a white person. Never met a Hispanic person. All they know is black people. Like, I know people like that. And they'll say a lot of ignorant things about those people. And I'll just be like, girl, like, dude, like, that is not okay. Like, that's actually really fucked up. And they think it's funny. They'll just sit there and be like, I don't understand. Like, what did I say? And they be dead serious. Like, at the end of the day, when it comes to humans, in the general sense, we cannot, but it's extremely hard to resonate with something you cannot relate to. But if her friend, I would have slapped the shit out of her because you need to listen to her. Like, she's dark skinned. She's also black. And she's trying to tell you, like, hey, this is what I experienced on your end. And this is what I feel you need to acknowledge. At that point, you need to reflect yourself. You need to check yourself. So she would have got punched in the mouth. Because it's like, yeah, like, no. And the thing is with the light skins and the white people in Haiti or whatever, they will tell you to the nail, they are Haitian. Well, that's the most interesting thing about it. Like, when it comes to light skins and white people in Haiti, they are like some of the most prideful Haitians you will meet, okay? They're making Haitian music, they're Haitian politicians, they this, that, and the third. And comment down below, do you think that this is just for them to be part of the hierarchy? I don't believe anyone should be discriminated against because of their skin color, whether you're light skin, dark skin, purple skin. I feel like everyone should be included in their race or whatever the case it is. I don't believe anyone should be excluded, but at this case, I do believe that they should definitely recognize their privilege and check that shit at the door. At the end of the day, I believe you should enjoy your privilege, though. Like, don't sit there and be like, oh, well, I'm light-skinned, I don't deserve this, but at least acknowledge it and try to educate other people and try to do your part where you can. You know, I know it's like, I can't really slap the shit out of you because there's a lot of things I don't know about a lot of types of people and a lot of different types of nations and communities. So if someone try to check me on it, like, I'll listen. But it's not my fault that I don't know, you feel me? I never came across that, so.
Now, another thing that my fellow light-skinned people do is they have to, like, end this persecution complex. And that's the term that I'm calling persecution complex. And hear me out, right? Again, this is something that constantly comes back in conversations, for better or worse, with my light-skinned friends, right? And most of these conversations, my light-skinned friends, I get the sentiment that, you know, they were taught at a very young age that people who call them racist, people who call them out on their BS, is basically, you know, those people are basically mad or jealous. Everyone is just mad and jealous because they're pretty, they're constantly, you know, they're wealthy, they're perceived as the people with money, and they're the one with the active targets. And, you know, I understand the realities of
that's interesting.
I understand that you might get targeted by criminals because historically, people with, you know, with a lighter skin typically have wealth. So I can understand that reality, right? But I really want to challenge this idea that us black people are jealous and they're out to get you, right? We're out to get your beauty. When darker skinned folks call you out on something, it's not on something that you did that's fucked up. It's not because, you know, we're jealous of you. We want to encourage you, you know, to go back and like self-assess in introspect to see what exactly that you did as a lighter skinned person that might have triggered responses from someone else, from a darker skinned person. All in all, I hope that this video didn't really create a divide between dark versus, you know, mixed people, because I'm not trying to specifically call out anyone in particular, right? My purpose in this video is to look beyond the tip of this iceberg that is colorism and spark the surface to inside discussion. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you to my fiance for actually being behind the camera. And let me know what you guys think. Let's continue this conversation forward. Do you guys think that colorism is an issue in Haiti? What are the degree of colorism in Haiti? You know, my lighter skinned people, like, what do you guys think about this conversation that we have? I hope I didn't portray you guys in a bad way. I didn't want to only look at systemic issues. I'm not pointing out anyone in particular. And I hope you guys do better. I hope we all do better. That's the whole thing, right? Do better.
That was actually a very good video. I love the way she presented it. She had a lot of key points, and I feel like everything she said was very, very valid. Honestly, I really hope she ain't talked to that girl again because I really want to punch her in the face. I'm mad I'm still on that, and it was like such a small part of the video, but you guys get the point. You know how I get. Honestly, yeah, colorism is very, very serious in Haiti. In terms of the persecution thing, I never thought about it that way. I feel like a lot of people in general, especially when you have like pretty privilege, especially people will teach their kids, oh, yo, you're pretty. That's why they're hating on you. You're this. That's why they're hating on you. And it's like not everybody trying to hate on you, sis. Like sometimes niggas just trying to tell you what it is. Sometimes it is hate. I do agree that a lot of people go through things from light-skinned people or white people, and they do end up becoming hateful. I do definitely genuinely believe that. But I don't believe that every single person that comes at you and calls you out your bullshit, especially if it's happening very regularly, is out to get you. So comment down below. What do you think about colorism in Haiti? What do you think about colorism as a whole? Have you experienced it? I'd love to hear your stories down below. I really wish this girl would make more videos because I actually really enjoyed that. Make sure you guys check her channel out. I mean, leave her some messages and be like, hey, the Mademoiselle said make more videos because I really love that video. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, all that. Everything you need is down in the description box below. And I'm going to see y'all next time.